A21 is completely in the books, and honestly, looking at it from a 30,000-foot view, yeah, it was a win for Depp, okay? Long and short of it is, a bunch of different expert witnesses came up, shredded the credibility of Amber Heard's team and all of their witnesses, the crazy ones that came from yesterday, okay? Thoroughly shredding a couple of the data analysts, or the one data analyst that was there from a couple of days before that, and yeah, just really left them, okay? If you just take both sides of the experts or rebuttal witnesses, their just overall likability, and compare and contrast that with Dr. Nosferatu, you know, the crazy-haired motherfucker who was combative with literally everybody yesterday. Knock him off with that of a very proper English gentleman who refuted every single one of the crazy doctor's claims. Dr. Spiegel knocked him right the fuck off. And then Karen Arnold, you know, or not Karen, Catherine Arnold, sorry, she was just, you know, Hollywood Karen, just a terrible, terrible witness with just pulling out those random facts and figures that Amber Heard was definitely over the past 18 months, and then for the next 3 years, she was going to make between $45 and $50 million. They had Richard Marx come back, okay, Johnny Depp's side, Richard Marx, he was the motherfucker who helped draft the agreement, okay, for the merchandising for Star Wars, okay, got Robin Williams' name front and center for fucking Aladdin back in the cut. Like, the motherfucker's been in everything, okay? He is the real deal maker. He's the dude who knows how much money is likely for people to show up, okay? For judging on the back resume and then the projections into the future, thoroughly discrediting any lingering credibility that Catherine Arnold had. Like, nobody believed her to begin with, okay? So they had Richard Marx take them down, okay? And then taking down the Heard data analyst, there was the dude who brought up the Q score and the bunch of analysis done for Depp previously during his case in chief, and he came back and he was a completely different person, okay? I don't mean, like, you know, physically or anything like that. I'm just talking metaphysically. Like, that dude was coming out swinging. He had other numbers to look at, and this dude is like, you know, head of mathletes, okay, because he loves himself some numbers, discrediting them, running them, and then coming up with, you know, like, actual data, actual facts, okay? It was a thorough trouncing. But we also had Jennifer Howell's video testimony right there at the end of the day, and what the fuck was that, okay? Yeah, there's a email that's there, and yeah, no, some shadowy figure claiming to make this donation on behalf of Amber Heard made a donation on behalf of Art of Elysium, and yeah, no, Whitney used to live with me. Like, what fucking good was that testimony? It's not like anybody needed the Howell declaration. It was more or less just kind of spiking the football at the end of the day, and it was nothing. But there were also some other video depositions that were played today that were, in fact, of some consequence. But let's start with the recap, because I gave you guys just the overall opinion. Today was the shortest, okay? They wrapped up half an hour before the end of the day. That's why this is probably going to be a little bit shorter than yesterday's. And then there's just not that much going on, because there was some legal practice going on, there was some spurgeoning around one particular witness, okay, but there was just a lot of dead time, okay, an additional break today. But tomorrow and Thursday could also be a little bit of a shorter day, just thinking, looking at the witness list and all that stuff, unless of course they let Johnny Depp, which is always, he is on their rebuttal witness list, not saying that he's going to be called or anything like that, but he could just be running out the clock at the end of the day by just recapping his story, which would be a nice way to let this entire case wrap up. A man who had his name defamed, drug through the mud for years and years and years, getting the final word on the case. That would just be poetic justice. If they have enough time, they might do that to round out Thursday, but Thursday could be a little bit shorter, all things considered. But tomorrow, especially with Kate Moss showing up and the Dr. Curry looming off in the distance, it's going to be interesting. But that is not to discount anything that happened today. So today it all started off with, yes, the claims that, okay, yeah, we need to dismiss the counterclaim because realistically, okay, Amber Heard is suing with her counterclaim. It is all predicated on those 3 Adam Waldman statements. And there is no evidence on the record that Johnny Depp directed Adam Waldman to make those statements. Still is the case, okay? But this was always going to be just dismissed, okay? This The countersuit was never going to get thrown out off these claims, okay? It didn't matter if Ben Jew had the most ironclad argument. At this point, there would have been too much media backlash, and that was already pointed out first and foremost. Oh, I'm sorry. That claim was made by Judge Azkarati later during one of the voir dires for the surprise rebuttal witness, which really blew up that whole trailer testimony, but more on him in a moment, okay? So yes, she is well aware of the media presence, okay? The courtroom is now the entire world, okay? So throwing out the counterclaim, favoring, even if it's just perception, not by saying anything particular, okay? She doesn't want to interject any perceived bias by getting rid of one half of the court case, okay? This was always going to be going to the jury. Both suits were going to stand. There's not going to be any substantive kneecapping, even as anemic as the Amber Heard defense team has been. And they're just, you know, it's so weird, right? Because we got the first full day of rebuttal for all intents and purposes, okay? You had a bunch of different experts come back up, and they're just generally likable people, okay? They don't come off as abrasive, okay? When they're on cross-examination, they don't get snippy. They aren't generally combative people. They're authoritative, they know why they're there, and they relate well to everybody in the courtroom, okay? Even if it's just some squirrely little fuck who set up some trailers in the middle of the desert. But they are likable, relatable people. Unlike Amber Heard's defense team, okay? Like, you had the crazy cat lady just spurging out at the Umbrella Man. Whew. And then Ben Rottenborn, who's a very good lawyer, okay? He's very good. He's just as fucking slimy as a stick of butter dropped in the sewer. He's the type of lawyer you'd want to find if you found yourself in a situation like this, but ugh. God, you just wouldn't. You'd hire him for a specific certain circumstance, but unlike, you know, Ben Jew, Camille Vasquez, okay, even Big Shirley there, you'd actually, you know, want to strike up a conversation with them, okay? Elaine, you just want to keep at about a 35-foot pole range because you don't want to get, you know, those brainworms that you get from too much cat piss in your life, or that bumbling, blithering idiot who's a second chair to Rottenborn, okay? I forget his specific name, but he has this weird... It's obviously like a nervous tick, because there's no way that anybody has such dry skin on their neck and around their ears that they need to keep scratching at very repetitious situations. He's an unsettling man, okay? And yeah, one of the first things that Rottenborn said when he was making his case against dismissing their counterclaim was, well, everything that Ben Jew was just saying, that was all for the cameras. Even though Amber Heard's team would just go on to prove that they aren't really, you know, all that concerned with their legal case. I think they probably worked themselves into a shoot that they believe that they can actually fucking win this, but everything that they're putting out in the media, okay, the fact of the matter is, in order to find a recap for this, it's no longer the front page thing, okay, the top of the web page link to get a recap of the day, it's about 3/4 of the way down, okay, especially on New York Post, which are just running hit pieces against Johnny Depp right now, okay? They're just regurgitating and framing everything in the best possible light, because we're just going to switch between the two, because we got the Daily Mail, which was the outlet that published the Adam Waldman statements, or at certain times for Amber Heard's side, it was the Depp Waldman statements, or the Waldman Depp statements, and then by the end of the cross-examination of the numbers expert, it was just the Waldman statements once again. They're blithering idiots over on the defense's side, but because Johnny Depp is presenting his rebuttals, okay, these are his witnesses, these are his experts coming up, we don't quite need to be covering that quite as vociferously as we have, even though the numbers from independent media are still up at, like, everybody, okay, of the big three LawTube channels, okay, they were all in on or around 65, 70,000, and then you had Emily D. Baker, who's just about at 200,000 people watching. Law and Crime has between 500,000 and 700,000 people at any given time. Sky News Australia, The Independent, people, there's about a dozen different rebroadcasters, restreamers of the trial footage itself, and on YouTube and Twitch, Twitch is another beast in and of itself, where another 500,000 people across the different streams that are there are also watching as well. There is north of 1.5 up to about 2 million people watching this trial at any given moment. So for Ben Rottenborn to come up to the stand and the first thing that he says is, oh, Ben Jew is just, you know, making his case that he's just playing directly to the cameras. That was one of those things where they're just hanging around Amber Heard a little bit too much. This is the 6th week of trial after all, and that whole confession through projection gimmick, it's really coming out hard, okay? Because there was some spurgeoning that happened when everything was coming to live witnesses. That really told that tale. So long and short of it is, yeah, countersuits are going to be going forward. That's going to be for the jury to decide, and that was always going to be the case, right? And then first person to be called for the rebuttal for Johnny Depp was Warner Brothers executive, head of DC Films, okay, Walter Hamada, the motherfucker who knows everybody associated with those dismal DC films, okay, has intimate knowledge of the producers, the directors, the casting decisions that are there. He knows all the contracts. He is the motherfucker, okay? And what did he say about this? Amber Heard's contract was fulfilled. Her options were picked up. Her role was not reduced. The direction of Aquaman 2 is going in a different way so that it's not going to be your traditional male and female leads. It's going to be Jason Momoa and Patrick Wilson, and it's going to be a buddy comedy film, okay? It's not going to be your regular Titan tights, cape and tights. There we go. Just regular old banger action film. Sure, there's probably going to be a couple of action scenes, but his words and the way that this film is being marketed, it's going to be Patrick Wilson, Jason Momoa doing kind of a buddy comedy gimmick. Where does Amber Heard work into this? Well, she's already been paid, okay? They picked up her option. They had some hesitation, and this was without any of the knowledge of anything that Depp said. His words, not mine, that Waldman said. Nothing had any consequence of that. There was just a severe, noted lack of chemistry from the producer and the director of Aquaman between Amber Heard and Jason Momoa. They thought about recasting her role because it was just inconsequential, okay? All he needed was about 9 minutes. It was about, with cross-examination, it was about 20 minutes of a video deposition, and it was damning. It completely destroyed, well, at least I thought completely destroyed, her claims of damages, especially because the big one was all Aquaman and everything. Oh, everything was predicated on the success of Aquaman 2, and Amber Heard lost everything because her role is going to be diminished. Even though the guy who, runs the studio is like, no, her role didn't change at all. Okay, cool. She's already been paid. Move on with your life. So, and then, yeah, probably the second biggest dud of the day, if it wasn't for Jennifer Howell, it was the dude, David A. Culber. Okay, Dr. David A. Culber. He works at Cedars-Sinai. He was the dude who put and worked on Johnny Depp's finger. Okay, he was the guy who put it in a partial cast. Apparently, according to him, the cast, okay, half a cast, soft cast that he had, plaster at the top, plaster on front and on the back, left it open for expansion, okay, left it open on the side, so after the surgery, if there was any swelling that occurred and any healing that needed to be done, the finger in question that was damaged, that he helped reconstruct, had the proper space to heal, and then the rest of it was just like a nice soft wrap around it. So theoretically you could grab somebody, but you'd be using kind of the Gene Simmons rock horns, okay, in order to grab somebody, but then you'd also have to negotiate the fact that the middle finger, that was the one that was exploded, right? It was wrapped up and splintered together with the ring finger on the left hand, right? I think it was the left hand. And like he says here, yeah, Dr. Culber said Depp could move his third and fourth fingers, so yes, those two were splinted together. And then that also just his redirect testimony, because Rottenborn was doing the cross on this one. If it was possible, while everything was all splinted up, or it was in a partial cast, so that means it was hard and stuff, right? You could still overturn clothes rack and shit, right? We've seen those pictures, okay? The Penthouse 4, which was an entire closet for Amber Heard, living in poverty, and oh, she was such a kept woman. Anyways, he could still commit to those acts of psychological terror or whatever fucking dumb shit they'd allege. And he could theoretically hit somebody or hold their hair, okay? And then, depending on which version of the staircase incident you want to go with, okay, you beat somebody with the other hand, or, smack somebody with a hard cast, which is very hard, even though he said on his redirect that there was no damage, no injury at all that he could recall, or that he made note of the cast, of the simple splint with a little bit of plaster on the front and on the back and on the top, okay? So, yeah, it was important to note that there was no damage to the cast, the partial cast that was on his hand for a considerable amount of time, but outside of that, I I don't really know what you get from that. At least it was a guy who's given testimony of something that he actually worked on. That was nice. And then, yes, if you do recall, if you were watching along at the time, you will remember Richard Marx, the guy who's worked on literally everything, drew up every conceivable deal that could be done in honor around Hollywood. The dude has worked on that in some form or fashion, okay? So he went back up there, and he was there to just thoroughly discredit Katherine Arnold, okay? Says that her assessment on the damages, the $40 to $50 million that Amber Heard is set to lose out on, is wildly speculative and built on absolutely nothing. His killer quote on that one: her testimony isn't worth the paper that it's not written on. Woo! Buddy, what a statement. What a fucking hook. Arnold, an entertainment industry expert witness, really, let's be honest, testified that she found that Heard's op-ed had no impact on Depp's career. Oh, okay, cool. But instead had cost Heard up to $50 million in earnings. That is buck fucking wild, okay? Marks testified that Jason Momoa is not a comparable actor to Heard, because if you remember the comparables for Amber Heard, right, which was funny, okay, because that was blown up once again by the subsequent expert here. Marks did it perfectly, okay, anyways, but you got Jason Momoa, Gal Gadot, Zendaya, okay, Ana de Armas, which is probably the most comparable, but still, how many Oscar-nominated films has Amber Heard starred in? 0. How many Bond girls have there ever been? What, like, not quite 30? Yeah. How many times has Amber Heard been a Bond girl? Yeah, not fucking likely anymore. So yeah, the comparables that Katherine Arnold made were just ludicrous, okay? And then he points out specifically Jason Momoa, you know, the lead in Aquaman, the most famous and most profitable film of all time. Sure. Marks testified that Jason Momoa is not a comparable actor to Heard. He cited his roles in Game of Thrones and Conan the Barbarian. The motherfucker was Conan the motherfucking Barbarian, okay? He was in one of the most successful television shows of all time, okay? Game of Thrones, like it or not, I've never seen an episode because I'm not some normie bitch. But he has a legacy, he has a resume, and he deserves the amount of money that he renegotiated with Warner Brothers, because he was at the end of his contract. He also signed a 3-option deal, and then once that option deal was up, and then for Aquaman 2, he had the right, he had the leverage, because he was the face of the brand of Aquaman, at least for that iteration for DC, so he could negotiate however much money he got, whatever it's reported to be, somewhere around $14 or $15 million. Good on him, he totally deserves it. Everybody likes him, okay? Like, I've never seen, I don't think I've ever seen any one of his films, but I have a generally positive opinion of him. I don't have a negative one of him. That's probably more than I can say. He's got a good physique and a good look, okay? He has his shitty relationship choices. Who the fuck wifes up somebody 20 years older than him? What the fuck is wrong with you? But at least he's getting out of that sad sack situation. Now he can just go hoeing the world around. Good for him. But yeah, even just comparing it, okay? Comparing it to Jason Momoa is a certain degree of retardation that is unforgivable. But to continue to go on, yesterday, Arnold also testified that she compared Heard's career trajectory with Momoa's, along with the careers of Zendaya. And like Mark said, she's so famous she can go by one name. Somebody who has been working in the industry, okay, has been working in Hollywood since she was 13 fucking years old, okay? Jesus fucking Christ. Somebody who can also sing, okay? And somebody who is also, and then just get in there and twist that knife just a little bit more, a decade younger than Heard. How do you make that comparable? You can't. You can't. And then Gal Gadot. Again, the lead in a film, somebody with a resume, somebody who has been in other famous franchises, it's not comparable. And then Chris Pratt, don't make me laugh, okay? But Marks said he has recently negotiated with actors that include Chris Pratt, Michael Douglas, Paul Rudd, Will Ferrell, and Billy Crudup. That's just recently. And again, this guy's legacy is enormous. They didn't have to go through his CV because, thank God, but you can go back because he previously testified on May 2nd, and that was awesome too, but he was just there to thoroughly discredit Katherine Arnold. But oh wait, there's more. That right there is the face of death, Douglas Bania. He ruined, absolutely ruined Amber Heard's numbers guy and whatever was left, okay? If there was any life left in the career of Katherine Arnold, My guy right here just demolished it. Demolished it. Depp's team again called Douglas Bania, a social media and intellectual property. I was right. Words are hard. Analyst who previously testified on May 2nd. Bania assessed Ron Schnell. Yeah, that was the guy who's like, oh yeah, I looked at 1.2 million tweets that were definitely negative, all of them against Amber Heard. Don't worry about all of them though. Yeah, they were all negative, and 25% of them were linked directly to the Adam Waldman statements. Don't worry about it. But yes, Bania assessed Ron Schnell's testimony based on the negative Twitter hashtags about Heard in relation to Waldman's statements. He said that Schnell provided no evidence of correlation between the Waldman statements and the hashtags. Yeah, and the spikes of those hashtags on Twitter. He had some wonderful demonstratives that ran train on Schnell's analysis. I've concluded that the alleged comparables actors that Miss Arnold came up with are not comparable to Miss Heard. Yeah, he broke down Schnell's analytics, showing visuals while on the stand. If these tweets were prior to the Waldman statements, there is no way they could have anything to do with the Waldman statements. Yeah, there was one of the demonstratives that Bania used in order to just throw out Schnell's testimony. Like you can see here, okay, there were a couple, they've got a timeline here, okay, 800,000 tweets, okay, 700,000 tweets as well, and he's got everything all marked up. It's like, okay, so when did the hashtags that Schnell used, okay, justice for Johnny Depp, which I get on the face of it is just all 100% all negative Amber Heard. Okay, sure. We just don't like you, Amber. Okay, fair, debatable. One other one, and then also Amber Turd, which also got to say, also got to be said again in court multiple times. It just warms everybody's heart. But as you can see, he took a look at when these tweets were made, right? So the biggest spike was in January 2020. Yes, between then and March of 2020. Okay, so the big old spike. And then you had 3 statements made by Waldman, okay, in about April through June of 2020. And what do you notice here? Not really any spikes, not really activity in negative hashtags or negative tweets, at least what was analyzed by Ron Schnell. Nothing really happened. Oh, and in fact, the negativity, it looks like just everybody stopped caring about this situation. Even though these statements, which I don't think anybody really, unless they were super paying attention to this case before it came to the forefront, really had any fucking idea what the hell was going on. So as you can see right there, it was all going down. And then you had, yes, a little bump in May. Okay, cool. Oh, but then there was a big old bump in November of 2020. Sweet. As you can see, just looking at the numbers and running your own analysis, Waldman's statements had fuck all to do with anything. And I wish I could find the demonstrative that Bania had when it came to the Q score for all of the different comparables from Catherine Arnold, but it showed that literally everybody else that she was comparing Amber Heard to was far more popular. Like in Gal Gadot's case, I think her positive Q score was 24, Amber Heard's was 8. Okay. And then when you took a look at negative Q score, and this was before any of these statements were made. Remember, this was before any of the statements were made in the winter of 2019, okay? Because Q scores are released officially twice a year, okay? So he was using the ones that came out right before Aquaman and then right before all the statements, okay? I'm sorry, Aquaman would have been out already for the entire year. Getting dates, just a little bit confused. But her negative Q score threw off the mean average of all of the other comparables, okay? Her negative was about 16. The next closest was Ana de Armas, and I think it was just barely double digits. It wasn't even close. Using those comparables, Arnold just pulled them out of her ass. They made no sense. They made no sense at the time yesterday, and then even under the cross-examination from Wayne Dennison, the holes were just poked in them. But Richard Marks and Doug Bania here just blew them wide open. Some testimony from people inside the courtroom, okay? The jury is paying attention to the witnesses and the experts that are being brought forward onto the stand. So it looks like when you compare and contrast the two cases, they were all checked out for Amber Heard stuff. They were all done and dusted. They were tired of listening to this condescending bitch in her case in chief. But when they're sitting up and paying attention to live witnesses, charismatic witnesses, likable witnesses, it's a different story. And I also missed one other witness because not all of them hit, okay? Not all of them were Bania or Marks, okay? There was a forensic accountant that was called. I totally forgot that his testimony was useless. I should have just scrolled up a little bit. There you can see, actually, I didn't even, oh, you know what? Here, I'm going to zoom in for everybody. I'll just recount what I said about the Q score. Not that far. There we go. Okay, there you have the comparables, right? Okay, so on the left-hand side, you have positive Q scores. Okay, Q score overview of Heard and the alleged comparable actors. So you had Gal Gadot with a 28 positive Q score. Okay, Jason Momoa with a 27. Okay, Zendaya with a 21. Chris Pine with a 19. Okay, average. Okay, of 17, and then Ana de Armas at 15. Okay, and then Amber Heard 9. Very comparable with everybody else. Okay, she is just about half as likable as her next legitimate comparable. And then you take a look at negative Q scores. She throws it off. It was even worse than I remember. 28. 20 fucking 8 on the negative Q score. Okay, a negative 19, a negative 19 Q score. Jesus. Okay. And then, yeah, she throws off the average because Ana de Armas was the next closest, but it was under 10 points. Her neighbor, 17. Jason Momoa. Remember, somebody whose career trajectory should have mirrored that of Amber Heard's, okay? Because a Star Was Born moment with her bit roll, with her cardboard fabricated. That was something else that Walter Hamada also attested to, that the producer and the director really had to work overtime alongside the editor in order to make that look like there was any chemistry between Momoa and Heard, okay? Using all of the different tricks that are out there, not deceptive, but just, you know, Hollywood editing, and then using the proper scores whenever they were there. They had to really, really, really go into overtime. That's why any of the drafts of any of Aquaman 2 that are out there have a very small role for Amber Heard. Then we get probably to the most consequential witness of the day, the first non-expert, non-recall witness, okay, to be brought to the stand, live and in the flesh, a guy who had no discernible interest in the trial beforehand, exactly what he attested to. He just merely responded to a tweet to, depending on who's making the claim of who the Twitter user is. We're going to switch coverage here in a moment. It was that umbrella guy. That's who it is. The umbrella man. The umbrella guy. The man who lives rent-free in Amber Heard and Amber Heard's defense team. He responded to a tweet, okay, because somebody alerted to him, okay, that the trailer park that he set up, okay, he was the original owner of the Hicksville trailer park, okay, where the alleged cavity search happened, and the trailer that Johnny Depp and Amber Heard stayed in, oh my God, it looked like a bomb blew up. I think that was Whitney Heard's testimony, or Raquel Pennington, whatever. They're both liars, okay, because this dude is the motherfucker who ran the place, okay, and who was working that night, and who also said and responded to the tweet from Tug here, okay? Bringing in the Hicksville incident accusations, Johnny Depp will be accused of being jealous because a woman was sitting close to Amber Heard. Depp said that he had, taken Happy something. Depp is accused of removing her hand and yelling at Amber. And then, okay, Morgan Knight, our good man here, okay, says, that never happened. I was with them all night. Amber was the one acting all jealous and crazy. And the way that Amber played off his testimony, his recitation of events, which seemed very credible, okay? He just had this weird vocal fry. He was just kind of a waifish guy who showed up wearing a mask, so read into that what you will. But he was believable. He was just telling his story. He didn't want to be a part of this, okay? He only watched the clip, okay? Seen the picture on there, okay? And then watched a clip. That's all he said in this case, okay? He had no interest in all whatsoever. He sold at the beginning of 2020. He sold the trailer park, or the trailer palace, sorry, don't want to disparage his good name. Sold it at the beginning of 2020, okay? He's been out of the business. He's been starting his own gimmick off in the wilderness. Cool, great, whatever, fantastic. And then he was alerted. Somebody brought up the trailer palace. So then he went and took a look at that, and made that one tweet, and went on with his day. And then one thing led to another, and then he got brought to the trial. Camille contacted him, asked him what he knew, okay, and then now he's here on the stand. They went through this little song and dance voir dire trying to take him off. It's like, oh, you're a big Johnny Depp fan. Not quite. Doesn't really care about it. Oh, you follow somebody who has changed their name to be a Johnny Depp fan, trying to discredit him that way. And you also follow the Umbrella Man. It's like, no, he doesn't. You can go ahead and verify that as well. He doesn't, by the way. What did he say? What was his testimony about the trailer incident? Well, former owner of Hicksville Trailer Palace, Morgan Knight, was called as a rebuttal witness Tuesday. Knight, is also a witness of the Hicksville incident. And he's an uninterested third party. He was just running the place. And if anything, okay, according to a bunch of the different testimony that's out there, the one trailer, okay, the 50 style trailer that Depp and Heard were staying in, it was completely demolished. And you would think that this dude might be holding a grudge against Johnny Depp for the fact that they overturned, okay, one of the original pieces, okay, one of the first things that him and his partner who set this up, okay, restored from the ground up, okay. Wouldn't they be holding a bit of a grudge? No. Wouldn't he be likely to tell you that, yes, it looked like a bomb blew up, things were overturned and everything? 2 wall sconces were broke. Cool. Great. In previous testimony, Heard told the court that in May of 2013, she and Depp were on vacation to the trailer park in Hicksville. He corroborated that as well. It was somewhere late May, okay, in Hicksville, California, near Joshua Tree, where Depp performed a cavity search on her, looking for cocaine when he accused her of flirting with another woman. The Hicksville Trailer Palace opened in 2010. It is described as a trailer park, motel, and artist retreat. Yeah, no, it sounds cool. It looks great, but that's a fair assessment of events. It's under new management, so don't know what it's doing right now, but it's still open for use. It's just probably, fairly pricey, especially with the newfound fame it's receiving. Features vintage themed trailers, a world-class recording studio, feature film edit bay, and several activities at property. Yes, and also a campfire and a little pool. It's pretty cool. It can house 25, he said. It was set up to host 25 attendees, but he also said that there was about 10 or 12 people that showed up with Depp's party, all things considered, but they rented out the entire thing, so they were more than happy with the reduced capacity, but then also it was booked out completely, which is, hey, big ups. That was another thing, okay? Elaine, who was doing the cross on this, who was just big mad about, Tug being brought up once again. It's like, well, how do you remember the exact day when that happened? How often do you have a celebrity of Johnny Depp status show up, okay? I can't remember specifically, because there was one year, it's either 2013 or 2014. It could be 2012 for all I fucking remember. We spent, my family and we spent Christmas in Las Vegas. Wouldn't recommend it at all. But I remember specifically sitting for a signing event in a sports memorabilia place in Caesars Palace Mall. It was Gale Sayers. I remember seeing him sitting at a table, okay? But outside of that, I don't really remember all that other stuff, okay? So on something even as comparatively inconsequential as that, I can remember that one detail. You think, having a conversation and accommodating Johnny Depp, okay, in 2013, quite possibly right at or just about at his peak of fame, you'd probably remember something like that. So trying to trip this guy up, who was just an honest cat. Like, there's no two ways about it. He was a little bit of a goof with a story to tell, and it was interesting. Knight said he met Depp at the Viper Room in the late 1990s. Very, very briefly. He had not met Heard before that night, he said. Knight said he did not see Depp yelling at Heard, but he said he had witnessed Heard yelling at Depp before remembering Depp appearing to be cowering during the argument. Depp and Heard had rented out the trailer park, a luxury hotel at the California desert. That's a little bit disingenuous of a characterization, but all right. For a party of 10 to 12 people. Okay, he honestly, throughout the rest of the night, became a lot more quiet at the beginning of the night. He was a lot more outgoing and extroverted, Knight said, and of course, as the night went on, he less and less so and more quiet. She started yelling at him, and I didn't want to hear it, he said. Honestly, it was really triggering. I know he's a grown man, unironically saying triggering. Knight said Depp seemed intoxicated, was swaying and a little less sharp, but he didn't know if anybody was doing anything. Okay, there was a bar trailer, but he's like, I didn't physically see anybody pour liquor into a cup and put that cup to their mouth. I didn't see that, but I'd assume so. There was liquor around, and Johnny Depp, yes, was swaying, and as the night progressed, he started to sway a little bit more. Knight said the next morning he checked on reported damage in their trailer. I observed that there was a light sconce by the bathroom in the bedroom, and it had been broken off in the wall, and a couple of pieces were on the floor. That's the theoretical bomb going off. 2 broken sconces. There appeared no other damage other than the light fixture, which was covered by a piggy fee, he said. If you're being excessively dirty, that's what he called it, okay? Yeah, but what did the cost of that amount to? $67, which was charged to the assistant's credit card of Johnny Depp, which was provided. But then, I forget exactly the sequence of events, but I'm pretty sure Elaine Bredehoft spurged out super hard for Tug at that point, but she was hilarious. And Amber Heard, who has been, like, memeably stoic throughout the entirety of the testimony, okay, on both sides, okay? She had been sitting at the defense table looking at the jury with just this kind of a Xanax glare. It's kind of like a 1,000-cock look in her eyes, just dead, absolutely dead, okay? Or she'd look at the witness box whenever somebody's giving testimony, or she tried to elicit some sort of response from Johnny Depp when she was not crying but weeping on the stand as well. But it was weird, right? Because this dude, he's just up there saying that, yeah, I didn't see any damage. It was 2 broken light sconces. But what do I know? I just own the trailer park. So what was she doing? She was being a bit of a cunt. I'll just go out there and say it, okay? She has normally had good posture, sitting in her chair, okay? She's been sitting up, being very attentive. But as soon as Buddy started talking, oh, she was smirking, she was smiling, she was leaning over to Rottenborn. She was not taking him seriously at all whatsoever. No, who could possibly listen to this guy? I can just lean back, relax, nobody needs to pay attention to this guy. What a fucking joke. He doesn't even own the trailer park anymore. That was the vibe I took off of that, because she has been so notably just absent any emotion whatsoever. But as soon as somebody just blows up one of her landmark instances of violence and, oh my god, one of the most horrific things I've ever seen in my life, he comes back and completely refutes that, and in fact puts on the record that Amber Heard was the abuser of this. Oh no, it's just the body language of somebody who just don't listen to him. Everybody pay attention to me, okay? Definitely not one of the hallmarks of histrionic personality disorder. No, everybody should pay attention to me. And what am I saying about this guy? He's completely and totally incredible. Don't pay attention to him at all whatsoever. Oof, fucking oof, dude. But look at the way that New York Post, remember yesterday, everything was all very, very pro-Heard. And you take a look at the caption of here. Heard smirks as ex-owner of Hicks Trailer Park testify about 2013 incident. Now it's no longer a cavity search, and she just smirked, okay? It wasn't her just leaning back in her chair, you know, nobody should be listening to this guy. Fuck you, New York Post. Fuck you in the ass. Last 2 things of the day. Richard Shaw, he came up. He was a very qualified guy who has a very illustrious CV as well when it comes to psychiatry, and he just, you know, thoroughly disputed anything that stupid Spiegel had to say about diagnosing Johnny Depp via what exactly? Okay, that it was totally unethical for him to make any sort of a diagnosis, okay, to make any sort of assumptions about Johnny Depp's personality, his cognitive process capabilities off of the fact that he didn't see him in person. And it doesn't matter that he refused to show up, okay? It is still improper to make any diagnosis when it comes to Johnny Depp if you haven't sat and you haven't listened to him, okay? Saying that he has cognitive decline without establishing a baseline outside of watching, like what Spiegel said, watching a bunch of pirate movies, that's improper, okay? And again, he has a very pronounced British accent. He is a man who has studied abroad, and he's very established in his field. He did very good up on the stand. I need not belabor this, because it was just, once again, just taking a shovel full of dirt and then just burying the careers of the expert witnesses that Heard used in order to capitalize on the fabricated attention that yesterday morning got. Oh, we're going to be calling Johnny Depp. Oh no, joke's on you. We're going to have 3 witnesses and just, you know, try to recap all of the horrific events. You fucking cocksuckers. But like I said, tomorrow and Thursday are going to be interesting, because it's a very interesting cast of characters that are going to be called, okay? We know Kate Moss is going to be giving some testimony via WebEx, okay? She's not going to be in person, which kind of sucks, because having a supermodel on the stand, if you thought the facial expressions and the body language of Amber Heard when it came to, you know, just trying to bully somebody who isn't, you know, all that masculine, okay, once again, just being a fucking bully. If you thought that that would have been funny, oh my god, having like one of the most notable supermodels of all time on the stand, somebody who is also, you know what, consensually seen Johnny Depp's penis, that would have been, oh, also triggering. And okay, if we're being fair, Prime Amber Heard and Prime Kate Moss, it's not that comparable. But even still, the video testimony, okay, a WebEx link. I just want to hear Elaine just fucking spurg out. That's going to be glorious. But there are a couple more rebuttal witnesses, and one in particular was going to be the former TMZ reporter who has intimate details about this case, okay? Because yes, the trademark of that cabinet slamming video is owned by TMZ, okay? And if you remember, okay, right at the end of cross-examination of Amber Heard, she let slip, thanks to her deposition in 2016, that TMZ was alerted of the TRO, okay, of the domestic violence restraining order that was acquired, and that's why all of the paparazzi, the most I've ever seen in my entire life, was outside the LA courthouse, okay? So TMZ, while all of this was going down, filed an emergency motion to prevent a former employee from testifying in Depp v. Heard case. She doesn't work for TMZ anymore, so what interest do they have, okay? If she's going to be burning one of her sources, which could very damningly be Amber Heard in this situation. She was the one who leaked the TMZ footage to the reporter after she said, I wouldn't even know how to give this information out to TMZ. Interesting. So I don't know if this is going to be ruled on or if this is going to get pushed back to Thursday. There was no timeline on Morgan Tremaine giving her testimony, but here's a breakdown on this. TMZ has filed an emergency motion. Remember, this is TMZ, by the way. Okay, an emergency motion to prevent the former employee from testifying in the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard defamation case. The organization asked the judge to block Morgan Tremaine from being called as a witness by Depp's legal team based on journalists' privilege, according to court papers. I'm not too familiar with the statute, and I don't think a lot of people are, okay? Like, Tremaine doesn't work for TMZ anymore. So their claims are interesting to say the least. The motion details a concern by TMZ that relates to an article it published on August 12, 2016. Johnny Depp goes off on Amber, smashes wine glass bottle. The motion itself is like 8 or 9 pages long, and I'm not going to read all of it, but they filed that, and it's going to have to get ruled on very, very shortly. But Nick Recader did a quick breakdown of the Virginia laws that they're citing, and it seems to only apply to criminal cases. So this video is getting long enough. I'll be looking into this because I think that they don't really have a leg to stand on. This is just, once again, TMZ just doing TMZ shit, you know, just trying to, in the 11th hour, get a little bit more clout when it comes to this stuff. Or are they trying to hide something greater? Because I don't really know. This could unveil a whole bunch of stuff, so it'll be interesting to see. I don't think it'll work, but it's definitely worth a shot, because in correlation to Amber Heard going down in flames, could we see TMZ taking a dump as well? Shit is gonna be fucking interesting. But yes, there were some misses, but there were a lot of good hits coming out of the 21st day. Was the 22nd day gonna hold? I don't know, but I'm gonna be watching. I'm gonna be recapping it for y'all. With all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been John Consuelo. Why don't you follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.